Most executive recruiters are guilty of the same thing that most job hunters are, and that is relying on technology. And LinkedIn is a perfect example. It's just a networking tool. It's just, quote unquote, a job board. It gives you information. What you do with it is another thing entirely. Nobody cares about your degree on first blush. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. Employers care about, can you make me money? Can you save me money? Can you increase my efficiency? If those aren't the first three things out of your mouth or off your email or out of your letter, the rest of it is who cares? It's your life. It's your job. It's your responsibility to figure out where you fit and get in contact with them. Companies need someone that can get people to believe in themselves, to believe in each other and trust each other collectively. And then number three, to believe in the cause, the common cause. And when you can get someone to do that, that's when magic really happens.
Hey everybody, if you are in the job market right now or you're looking for a career transition, I have a fantastic guest for you. Let me tell you a little bit about the stats here. David Perry has placed over 1,600 executives. 1,600. Yes, you heard that number right. And just the salary negotiated on behalf of those executives is now in excess of $420 million. Not the full compensation, just the salaries. So he is a 33-year experienced executive search consultant working in real estate, construction, and technology. So if you're in any of those industries and you're looking for the next thing for you right now, I want you to pay attention to the conversation I'm having with David today. Now, that's just for individuals, but on the retained recruiting side, he's also helping people build their executive teams with a long-term vision to avoid the instability that maybe go on when you don't have the right people in the right seats. Welcome, David. I'm super excited to talk with you today. How are you doing?
Well, thank you, James. That's a very generous introduction. I thank you very much.
All right. Well, I'm going to dive straight in because there's a lot of people uncertain about where they stand in these marketplaces. We talked about technology, real estate, construction. A lot of, I think, misinformation is shared out there, whether that goes on a platform like LinkedIn or it goes on other platforms like Reddit, where people are kind of giving their opinion, but actually not knowing the facts. And I hope we can dive into some of that today.
Yeah, just grill me, man.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start there? What's your primary opinion? Or what's your opinion on what are the primary problems going on today in executive search? And you can do that from both sides. You can talk about the organizations
That's
and then
a
perhaps
really
talk a little
interesting
bit.
question.
Yeah.
No one has ever asked me that. I think the primary problem in executive search is most executive search firms are lazy, really lazy. And what I mean by that is back in the day, so like I started in 1985. Okay, I had one of the first email addresses in Canada, which is where I am, right? But long before technology, recruiters get up in the morning with nothing and they have to create something or they go hungry. And obviously, I've never gone hungry. The issue is most executive recruiters are guilty of the same thing that most job hunters are, and that is relying on technology. And LinkedIn is a perfect example. It's just a networking tool. It's just, quote unquote, a job board. It gives you information. What you do with it is another thing entirely. I think I was the 113,000th member of LinkedIn. I was the first person to ever write about LinkedIn. It was in the first Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters book, and in 2005, and I let LinkedIn give away 3 chapters that they were mentioned in the first book, and it was downloaded 5 million times off their servers. So that's how old I am and how far I go back. Way before technology, we had to use our brains and research in the libraries. And right now, recruiters, by and large, use job boards. They shouldn't. And job hunters use job boards, and they really shouldn't. I mean, if you want to, we're doing a search right now for a VP Ops and a COO for a furniture company. And the first thing we did is I turned to my research group and I said, okay, I need this, this, and this. And it's in this geographic area. Go find me everyone who has these 2 titles in that geographic area and bring it back to me. I'm not going to advertise. If I'd advertised, I would have got thousands of responses. I only want to talk to
You'd have 2,000, yeah.
Yeah, I only wanted to talk to a couple people. So they did that and they came back with, I think, 293 people. And we discussed it. And then we said, here's the 10 people I'm going to call. And this is what I'm going to tell them. As a recruiter, that's what I do, right? I go after people that have an opportunity or already have a job with a new opportunity. It's the same thing job hunters should do. Figure out what skills you want to sell. 3 of them, just 3 of them. And go after your top 10 companies you want to work for. Why 10? Because the FBI only has a top 10. If it's good enough for them, it should be good enough for you as a job hunter, right?
That's right.
So figure out who those top 10 are and then do the research to go after them and find out what the problem is that they have that you can solve and do it. Rather
Yeah.
than sit around and wait for someone like me to call you or a job board to show a posting. You have to be proactive. Most recruiters aren't when they recruit, and job hunters certainly aren't at all.
Yeah, I don't know what
Long
you.
answer.
Yeah, it's good. It's great, and music to my ears about hiring processes and laziness because it's things that I talk to my clients about and share with people. I saw somebody lament on LinkedIn that, hey, we posted a role for a chief marketing officer and got 2,500 applicants in the first day, and I'm like, yes, you're hiring wrong because it's going to
completely.
Yeah, stop
You should be
celebrating.
fired.
Yeah, you should be fired. This is absolutely awful. And I shared it. I just like, this is crazy. It's everything that is wrong with hiring. And you shouldn't be celebrating. It's going to take you 70 hours to read the resumes because you're not going to read the resumes. You're actually going to throw a lot of them in the trash, which means you wasted everybody's time. So think about the harm you're doing. I wanted to say, you said you were in Canada. So I just want to share with everybody something that made me laugh last week. And I think it'll make everybody else laugh. They've
Uh-oh.
displaced people internationally in 5 continents, and he's still working on Antarctica. but I just thought that was a really wonderful comment you made last week. So it doesn't matter that you're in the United States right now. So most of the people watching this are in the US, Canada. If you're an executive looking for a position and you find value in this conversation, just know that David is experienced in all of those territories. And so it's not restricted to Canada. So that's a key thing. Now, I was looking at your book, Hiring Greatness.
Okay.
And in there, you talked about HR speak. And so we've just talked about the platforms and the primary problems in the marketplace. Tell us a little bit about the concept of HR speak and then, some of the challenges that that's creating for people.
So I present all over the world. And I was in Philadelphia maybe 7 or 8 years ago. I was talking at the Philadelphia, it's the Society for Human Resource Professionals in Philadelphia. This is relevant. And, they weren't sure that they could afford to fly me down and bring Kevin from Minneapolis down because it only cost them $2,000. And they weren't sure they could raise enough money. They needed to get 40 people to spend $50 or $50 people to spend $40 to raise enough money to bring us. Okay, $2,000. So they needed 40 people. We wrote the marketing package for them. We charged nothing. That was just travel. And so we wrote the marketing package for them. They had 383 people show up for this thing, all in HR. And the room was massive. And Kevin and I both present at the same time. And he's standing on the podium and I'm down on the floor. And I'm talking about, I don't know what it was. And Kevin said, David, what does HR stand for? Now, you got to understand, people that know me would laugh because it's like ringing a Pavlovian bell, right? Ding, ding, ding. And I just go, it's a rant that comes out of my mouth. It's a Tourette's left over from the stroke I had. And I just started with, HR stands for hiring resistance. And I just went at it. And he's banging on the microphone. And he says, David, where are we? I said, we're in Philadelphia. What's your problem? He says, who are we speaking to? The Philadelphia Society for Human Resource Professional. He said, okay, so long as you know. And I look at the audience. I turn back around. He's behind me. I turn back around. I said, I apologize if I insulted anybody. But did I say anything wrong? I said, and before you say that, understand, I've seen the list of who's here today. I know about 15 people who I've talked to on and off over the last 2 years who are senior HR people, and they're unemployed. Why are you unemployed? Because you're playing by the rules you wrote, and that's why you're losing. Nobody cares about your degree on first blush. Nobody cares, blah, blah, blah. Employers care about, can you make me money? Can you save me money? Can you increase my efficiency? If those aren't the first 3 things out of your mouth or off your email or out of your letter, the rest of it is who cares? It sounds like, it's like, remember, you're probably not old enough to remember Charlie Brown, but Charlie Brown used to go to school and you'd hear the teacher going, wah, 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 wah. That's all it is. So HR speak causes a lot of problems because HR is responsible, I said in air quotes, responsible for hiring the best and the brightest. However, I'm sure there are people that are watching that are going to listen to this later that have gone on an interview, no matter how old they are, they're in their 40s, 50s, 60s, maybe they're in their 30s, and they've met a pimply faced 20-year-old who is the first line of defense, trying to get into a company. So they make them responsible for the best and to hire the best and the brightest, and they put the least experienced on the front end who are told to screen. Anyway, so yeah, I can go on I get invited to these conferences all the time. I rarely get invited back because I inevitably insult somebody.
No, but
I don't
I
mean
like
to.
that.
It's
No,
just
I like your contrarian opinion, and
this
I
is
think
about business.
there's way too many folks out there, especially on platforms like LinkedIn and Reddit, just talking absolute nonsense about the hiring process, about recruitment, about the state of the market. And I think in the end, it comes back to human to human connectivity, authentic relationships. And are you investing around those three questions? And I just want to reiterate those for people watching: are you making money? Are you saving money? And where's your efficiency? What's the value and the skill that you bring into the organization? Instead of what the resumes I see and the people I talk to, they just want to bang on about their knowledge and experience. And I'm falling asleep
Yeah.
because it's like, this doesn't matter for this role. It doesn't define you in this role. So I think that's really good. Now, you wrote another book. Oh, by the way, Hiring Greatness is available on Amazon and other good bookshops, bad bookshops too. So pick up yourself.
Any kind of bookshop.
Yeah, if you want to grab that, go and pick yourself up. Called Hiring Greatness. It's by David. It co-authored with another gentleman called Mark, and you'll see that when you get there. But you wrote another book, which I wanted to talk about, which was Executive Recruitment for Dummies. And I want to talk about some of the things in there that still stand the test of time, because that book's been on the shelf for a while. So tell us a little bit about things that you wrote in there that still stand the test of time, that you feel like there's still some resistance around those things as well.
Employers think there's plenty of talent. They've thought this way for 20 years. Every time we go into a recession, depression, whatever you want to call it. And the best way to explain this is if you've ever watched America's Got Talent, you know that some people do, most don't. So there's lots of people available when you go into a recession. That's not necessarily equated with talent. However, folks, if you're listening to this and you're in that situation, you need to level up who you're corresponding with. Whether you think ageism is real or not, and I think we can talk about that if you want to, you have to understand that you need to find people that have the right to talk to you. And what I mean by that is, if you're looking for a job and you're trying to network your way into a company and you're starting at the bottom, with HR or whatever, and trying to network your way up, it is not going to happen. If you're a senior executive, and these are the people that you talk most to, pick the person that can actually hire you, whether it's a CEO, a president, or a VP, or a director, and seek them out and talk to them. You need to start talking to people that understand who you are and what you've done. And that's not anyone in HR. And it's likely not anyone in the recruitment community. I think I think I talk in executive recruiting for dummies, but I'm not sure. But, we ran a boot camp. I ran a boot camp across the US for about 10 years called the Guerrilla Job Search Boot Camp. And one of the guys who called us one Friday night, this guy, Steve Cobain, he had been with a bank in Philadelphia for like 24 years. And his boss came in on a Monday morning and said, "Hey, I'd like to introduce you to your replacement." I said, "What?" For 24 years, they packaged him and said, "Here, go. We're going to put you outplacement. Go find a job." He spent, I'm trying to remember all the numbers now because it's at least 10 years. He spent 9 months in outplacement. I don't know how many resumes he sent out. It was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. He had 3 interviews over 9 months, no offers. So he calls us up one day because his wife hears myself and Kevin talking on the radio in New York City. And she said, "Call this guy," because he comes home one day and says, "We got to move out of Philadelphia. There's no jobs for people like me." And she said, "No, call these guys. I heard them on the radio." Anyway, he talks to us. We do a Guerrilla resume. I'm getting to the point here. Do a Guerrilla resume after talking to him for probably an hour and a half. He picks his top 10 companies he wants to talk to. We packaged them up and did a coffee cup caper, which if you want to Google Starbucks coffee cup caper, it'll bring up the instructions on how to do this. He did a coffee cup caper, 10 companies. He had 8 interviews, 6 offers, 5 weeks. He accepted one, and that Friday, 2 of the CEOs from the companies that he didn't accept offers from came over to his house. You can't make this up. If you go to mynewjobhunt.com, there's actually a video there with him and Mark talking about this. And here's the point, folks. It's your life, it's your job, it's your responsibility to figure out where you fit. It's your responsibility, or you and a coach responsibility, to find someone who's got a problem that you can solve and get in contact with them, however, creatively or not, but get in contact with them and tell them, I know you've got this problem, James, and I've done this before. Let's have a coffee. Here's how I'm going to solve it. Meet them and have a coffee and solve the problem. And if the problem is big enough, and your idea is bright enough, they may just hire you. And sometimes they hire you and sometimes they don't. But even the ones that don't, you've just recruited them. Because there's this whole concept called reciprocity, right? If you go to lunch with someone and they solve one of your problems, and besides paying for coffee, you're going to do something, right? We've had many, many people not get offers from coffee cup capers, but they have had the people that they did it with actually call up. We had one guy call another president, like in the meeting. They were having coffee on a Saturday morning in the meeting, and say, "Listen, you got to meet this guy, this afternoon." And so this is what you have to do. And you won't read about this in most books, and they won't talk to you on LinkedIn about most of the stuff, because most people don't have to do it. They admire it when they see it on television. Like you caught me in the middle. I'm writing so I'm doing the 4th edition of Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters. Okay, the 4th edition is coming out, so it's the 20th anniversary, and I'm reaching out to Sylvester Stallone to do the forward, because I can think of no one in my entire lifetime that I haven't actually met him, but I know his story. I can't think of anyone with a better example than taking nothing and making something out of it. And I don't just mean Rocky in the movie. I mean Sylvester Stallone. He's lived his life this way. He's just an incredible symbol of what you can do when you use your brains, and you won't take no for an answer. Sorry, long answer to your question again, but you can edit it all out, so don't worry.
No, we're not going to edit anything. This is going to be raw. It's good stuff. I want to go back to guerrilla marketing for job hunters. I want to talk to you about psychological triggers, because you talked about law of reciprocity. So I want to come back to those two things. But I do want to mention this about ageism, because I agree with you. I think if you're still breathing, you're still competent, as long as you want to go on the adventure and you're interested in doing the work. And it makes me think of Michelangelo. Michelangelo's latest sculpture, that was released a few weeks before his 89th birthday, but he was still working on it. I think he was 87, 88. And people always asked him, why are you successful? And his response was, I just keep learning.
Yeah.
I'm always learning. So I learn, and then I apply the things that I learn, and, he did a few unscrupulous things in his career, but just thinking about his longevity and ageism, I think is a really important point. So yeah, let's dive in on deeper. I want to go deeper on guerrilla marketing for job hunters. You talked about the coffee cup caper. I think that's one of the strategies and tactics inside of that. So tell us a little bit more. What are kind of 2 or 3 other things that you could share with us today that are not commonly used, that are techniques that you would say for job hunters right now? These are things that I would say are able to short circuit. You kind of talked about a couple of examples. Short circuit your results. Yeah, I think that'll be awesome.
So it's called networking with the newly departed. This is not a seance. They're not dead. But here's the issue. When you go into a recession, depression, or whatever, or the powers from on high come down in the cafeteria and say, we got a hiring freeze. Everybody's just grateful that they didn't lose their job. And so, Jesus himself can walk into the cafeteria or walk into the reception area an hour later and say, I'm here to save you. And Cindy or Charles or whatever will say, we're not hiring. And just chuck them out, right? So forget about what you think the economy looks like right now. Find those companies and then do this. Go to Google and put in Google the name of the company, the department you want to work in. So just put IBM marketing, and then resume, hit go. And what it'll do, in all likelihood, depending on what the net's doing that day, it'll bring you back all of the resumes online of people that used to work for IBM in marketing, the resumes. So you scroll through and find one that's, someone that's been only out for, 6 or 9 months, okay? Newly departed. Their phone number will be there. Then you pick up the phone and you go, hey, James, David Perry, I see you used to work at IBM in marketing, and I got a couple of quick questions. Can you spare a minute? Who is this? What do you want to know? Okay. You think that, people go, that's not going to work. So Anita and I are giving a half-day course to a group of 49 admirals and generals in Ottawa. Okay. We do this all over the world, but admirals and generals in Ottawa. And I'm talking about the newly departed and you're using it as a tactic. And there's this guy right at the back of the room and he goes, bullshit. I turn to Anita and I go, okay, we got time for a 15-minute break? Yeah, okay. Okay. All you go finish your phone. No, no, not you. You sit down. Everybody else, go finish your calls. Come back in 15 minutes. You come on up. So he comes up and introduces himself. He's a 3-star Canadian admiral. And I said, no offense, sir, but you're going to retire soon. Give me the name of a company that you want to work for. I said, you're going to get to run me out of this room on rails, dipped in tar and feathered, in half an hour if I get this wrong. So give me a company. So he did. So we looked it up, and I did this with my BlackBerry. That's how old I am. And we looked at this company. I found this, and I found a guy's resume. Everybody comes back in, and I put the BlackBerry down, put it on speaker, dialed it. I don't remember what the guy's name was. Thomas. I said, Thomas, my name's David Perry. I know you used to work for Cognos in product management, and I'm doing some research for a project. You got a couple minutes? He said, well, right now I'm actually in the middle of a meeting, but here's my home phone number, and call me after hours. Thank you very much. Wrote it down, read it back to him, hung up. And I said, okay, so that's how it's done, folks. So what you do is you phone someone, you network with the newly departed, find someone you can ask some questions to. Because what you wanted, time is precious, right? Time is precious. So why would you go to all the trouble of finding a company, interviewing with them, only to find out after you've joined the boss is a putz? Why not find out from these people? Say, hey, I'm thinking about going to work at Cognos, and he used to work there for 3 or 4 years for so and so. What's he like? Oh, well, that's interesting. What kind of a guy is he? Did you go out for drinks? Blah blah blah. What are his big issues? I hate the term, but what are his 3 burning issues? So they'll tell you, right? You write this down. You do this a couple of times for the same company. I guarantee you they're going to call back into where they used to work and say, you wouldn't believe this guy named David Perry called me, asked me a whole bunch of questions. He may be reaching out to you for blah, blah, blah. Because I know he's looking for a job and he's considering Cognos as a home. Do this a couple of times for all of these different firms. And then all of a sudden, you've got the ammo that you need for your cover letter. Dear James, I know that this, and this are an issue, and I've done this, and this. You want to sit down and have a coffee, and I'll tell you how I did it?
Yeah.
Maybe I can help you. Nobody says no. Nobody says no.
Yeah.
So that's your top 10 list. You put that in your cover letter. You do your Guerrilla resume, which, folks, just Google Guerrilla resume in quotations, hit the images, and you will be astounded by what people can do in one page to be creative and get someone's attention instead of that 2-inch thick brick at the top of your resume that's black and white. Everybody has these black and white resumes. I mean, when was the last time you watched black and white TV? Never. 30 years ago, right? The world's moved on. So get with it. Anyway, so that's one. Networking with the newly departed. And it is very powerful. The other thing that I do a lot with my friends, my best friend Kevin Watson, who I placed about 4 times, and is on his last job, I couldn't place him because I just had a stroke. I had a massive stroke in 2008. Couldn't walk, talk, read, write, whole 9 yards. And Kevin needed a job, so he snuck in to the hospital at night, and I'm literally. It's day 6, and I started to talk on day 5, whole words. My first words were F off. It's a long story. Kevin sneaks in, and I said, "Listen, Kevin, I can't even, I can think, but I can't actually talk." I said, "So come back tomorrow." So he comes back the next day, same time. He had to sneak in after hours. And I said, gave it a lot of thought last night. And I worked with a nurse today. I got these questions written down for you. I couldn't use my hands. I got these questions written down for you. So what it was Kevin was a brilliant engineer, just unbelievable. And being an engineer, if you asked him what time it was, he told you how the clock got made and where you buy the parts, right? It drove me insane. So what I did instead is I wrote these 10 questions down and I said, okay, when you go on an interview, I want you to go into the interview. And the first thing you do is tell them that you're really excited to be there and you're very nervous, but you've written down a bunch of questions that it's really important that you ask because your wife's going to ask you about these things afterwards. So here's the questions. I give them to you. I said, why would I do that? I said, because you don't know what to ask. And they don't know what to ask you other than, so tell me about yourself. Anyway, so we wrote these 10 questions out. And I said, the first thing someone's going to do is take the question, they're going to start reading it. And they're going to go, oh, can I ask you this one? Yeah, sure. Well, all of a sudden, you've asked the 10 questions that are relevant to the role and are important to you, and you know they're important to the employer because, if you're a product manager, you want to ask a question like, what are the trade-offs between product management and time to market? Pretty important to know. Nobody ever asks that question in an interview. When you do, the interviewer goes, let me get someone, unless they're really senior, let me get someone to answer that question. So prepare the interview questions, give them a copy, let them ask you, know the answers to the question, but that's what starts the discussion. No one goes on an interview to play tennis, with the back and forth of the ask the question, answer the question. No, they go to find out about the opportunities. You need to have a conversation. So this is what starts your conversation. And it's not that you're controlling it, you're not tricking them, but you're making sure that they ask the right questions, or at least you do, that give them the information that when they walk away, they can go, oh, yeah, that James, he's so qualified for this, and this reason.
Yeah.
Kevin did this in the middle of the big layoffs at Nortel and another company here in Ottawa. And at that time, the tech unemployment in the city was 65, 66%. He wrote a story for Guerrilla Marketing for Job Hunters. I think it's the second edition, might be the third. But he targeted 30 companies. He had 28 interviews, 26 callbacks, 24 offers, 3 weeks.
Wow.
He was exhausted. He asked for 2 weeks off before he started. But these are, and senior executives should appreciate this. And especially if you're an engineer, looking for a job is process driven. And if you're a marketing executive, it's all about TAM, SAM, and ICP, right? Total addressable market, selling, ideal client profile. Defining all this stuff ahead of time shows people you're a senior executive who actually understands business, because you're doing your job search, you're conducting it like you'd conduct any other business. Most people really don't get that.
Yeah. Is it
Too much information?
gold dust? Yeah. It's just so good. I think if you're watching this, go back for the last 5 minutes. We just talked a little bit about some of the ideas that you could be doing. But you got to pay attention to how David's setting you up for success. And most people won't do this. But if you've watched us this far, you're the person who's going to rewind this right now, next 5 minutes, and just watch that over and make the keynotes for the activity you're going to do. Now, you talked about interviews there, and I want to talk to you about a couple of things. But I think my first question is, we talked about law of reciprocity earlier, about giving people value in advance is then going to, highly likely return some value. In fact, I had this experience yesterday. Gal's a C-suite executive, just got a new job, and we didn't coach, so she didn't pay me, but she sent me an email to say, I'll do anything for you. That's law of reciprocity.
Yep.
What are the psychological triggers? Because you said you don't want to manipulate and control people, but what are the psychological triggers are things that people aren't taking advantage of, like reciprocity, that would be something to include in their conversations?
Well, there's a lot of this, a lot of going around of try and mirror or walk in and pick out something in the room and start a conversation about, their dog or the trophy or whatever. You know what? I respect? Maybe it's only me, but remember, I've been at this 40 years and I'm still standing. But you come to a meeting with me, have your questions in your mind ready to deliver, and have a reasonable reason for wanting to make a change. Reasons that don't hold any water are things like, I worked my way out of a job. The last guy that said that to me was a guy about 3 years ago. I said, you worked your way out of this interview as well. He said, see ya. He was in sales. I said, see ya. I don't care how successful you say you've been on paper, but because even turkeys can fly with a good backwind. You're not the type of self-driven candidate I want. I don't need anyone to come in and take control of the interview, but I want to meet with a peer, period. I mean, you have to understand who I deal with on a daily basis. My clients are CEOs. Christ, some of them are kings, literally. Are CEOs of major billion-dollar corporations, or are the CEO or founder of what's going to be a billion-dollar corporation. They've just mortgaged their house, and doing everything they can to get this business up and running. So they want respect, and what you need to do to respect them is come prepared to have a conversation about what you can do. I hope that answers that question, because most people don't do that.
It does. I think it's good. I do think people are ill prepared going into interviews because they're doing that Q&A. They've turned up for Q&A, and it's not. And you talked about that earlier. I think it is about a conversation and what homework have you done. I mean, Here's an example. I was reading about you. This is my homework about you. You're known as the rogue recruiter, but then just listening to what you're saying just then and what we've talked about in the past, you should be known as the multi-million dollar maker, because you were sharing with me before
Well,
we
yeah,
came on
yeah.
air that how many, let me ask you this, because I want people to hear this authority and credibility and your standing and the kind of people you're working for. How many people have you made multi-millionaires by their executive placements?
58.
So listen up, folks. This isn't chutzpah, you said earlier. This isn't hogwash. This isn't hyperbole. David is somebody who can help you, but you got to pay attention. So you can either go to the book, and we're going to talk to you about some other resources where you can actually get engaged here. Hey, this is James. I'm jumping in the middle of the video here because I want to let you know that there's an opportunity by clicking the link in the description underneath this video to meet me for 30 minutes. In that meeting, I will give you 2 or 3 strategies or 2 to 3 big ideas that will change your career, your mission, your business, and maybe even your life if you'll commit to acting on those things. Now, I want to let you know, I'm not there to sell you anything. I don't have anything to sell you, but I do want to have a conversation with you so you can get into momentum and start to execute against your priority activities. I want to talk about resume mistakes, because you talked about the black and white resume. What are the mistakes are people making on their resumes that is also, let's say they're sent, yeah, hi David, here's my resume. Can you find me a job? What are the things you see on that resume that just go, nope?
Well, the first thing is that paragraph summary about what you're looking for. Trust me, folks, and I mean this with kindness. And if my partners see this YouTube later, they'll probably smack me in the head. I don't care what you want. I don't care. I only care that there's a fit between the skills and experience you have and what my client's looking to do, because we get paid by them. And even if I'm placing you somewhere, I'm doing all the research like you've already done here, James, to make sure that I've got the right company, I've got the right personalities around the table, because we guarantee our work for a year. We have a 1-year replacement program. And anyone in that's ever hired a recruiter knows that most, even the largest in the world, are 30, 60 days. We're a year. We're a year because we put a lot of work into it. We charge a lot of money, but we put a lot of work into this. So that block of text at the top of the resume is the first giveaway. Not telling me in the first half inch what skills you have, what accomplishments you have,
Yeah.
responsible for. I don't care. I know what a VP of marketing does. You think I'm stupid? Obviously, because you're not anyway. And the most egregious, that word I can't pronounce.
You got it. First time. Excellent.
Egregious error is references available upon request. Truly, are you that stupid? Again, you're accusing me of being dumb. Yes, we know that, but we won't be requesting them because you're too junior, and you've just told me that. And I don't care what the resume writers say about this stuff. It's just not true. And by the way, there is no ideal length for a resume. I prefer one-pagers until I need a two-pager, but the same format, right?
Yeah.
Logos down the left-hand side, quotes down the left-hand side if I've got them. But it's all about accomplishments, what you did. 5 accomplishments, boom, 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 boom. And they better be accomplishments that are relevant to the role that you're looking to talk to them about, if it's a specific role.
Yeah.
Or their industry, if it's a specific industry.
This is so valuable, and it dovetails with if an executive I'm working with is not able to tell me their top 5 or 6 demonstrated achievements in their career that's relevant to what they want to do next, I tell them we're gonna have a really hard time finding you a home.
Yep.
Because that's all that matters in that first top half of the page. They're not going to read any of the stuff. They're just not going to get looked at. It's only going to be, did you make money? Did you save money? Where did you increase efficiency? And where can stakeholders can say, that's our guy, that's our gal, that's who we're looking for. Let's shift gears a bit. Let's go to.
Can I just thought of something, and this makes sense. It might help. It might help people. That first paragraph on your resume is the equivalent of someone saying to you, because you're single, she's got a really great personality. They're not going to read anything else, okay? Yeah. They're not. So don't do that. Don't be that guy.
It's
Sorry.
good. Yeah,
I get calls for that.
I should start to memorize some phrases that I've seen on resumes that I've just deleted. I just take that off, all that off. I want to shift gears. I want to talk about, you have a partner in crime. I want to talk about Anita, and I want to talk about the inside out approach and the methodology that you two are engaged in, and something that people could take away from the conversation. So first, let's talk about Anita, because I want to kind of give us some prime time here, and that relationship, how it works, and how you can deliver incredible value as a partnership with Perry-Martel. And then let's shift gears and kind of talk a little bit about Inside Out.
Anita Martell is my business partner, love of my life. I met her at summer camp in Long Point, Montreal in 1980. We were both doing our basic officers qualification course at the time, and we competed against each other, and I won. She came in second. I can say that. I don't know if you can see the sword. No, you can't. There's a sword on my wall. But I did this for 2 years with another firm that I joined after the getting back from my honeymoon and getting fired. I went to work for this company called Console Pro, and I worked for them for 2 years, rookie of the year, bunch of stuff. And in 1988, in the 9 months that I worked at the first 9 months of 1988, I built $758,000. Now, that's not a lot of money to most people on the call, unless they realize back in 1988, minimum wage was $3.60. That's a lot of money. From that 758, I got 52 grand. And I came home one day, and my boss had decided, I have a heart condition. My boss decided that he's going to make me pay for my own health insurance. So I came home, I was mad. I had my check, made $52,000 that year, and he's going to make me pay for my own health insurance. It was going to cost me about 12 grand. So I said to Anita, I said, I'm good at this, but this is killing me. She said, well, why don't you do it yourself? I said, well, we're going to sell the house that we inherited from my parents. Me and my two sisters will invest the money with, by the way, the most punitive employee contract I've ever seen in my life. I'm still trying to find a copy because nobody would ever believe it. But that's what we started out, and she was the backbone legal and research, and I was the front man dealing with the clients, and that was 36 years ago. And what it's morphed into now is I'll go out and get the deal. I'll work with the clients. I'll find the candidates. Now, I have a research group. I find the candidates. I put them together. But we go to all the meetings together, whether we're doing a Zoom call or we're there in person. Anita and I, when we take a project, we just finished one where we did three executives for the same company.
Yep.
And we sat through every single interview. We conduct the interview. The clients, we invite them, but we ask all the questions so the clients can sit and listen to the answers, not worry about thinking about the next question. And then when we're all finished, we'll let the candidate go or see them to the elevator or whatever, and then we'll come back and we'll debrief. And and the two of us fight like crazy, like we're two lawyers in a courtroom, fighting for death row, right, over a guy's. That's how much we argue back and forth. So for most clients, it takes a bit of getting used to the first time. But by the time, we've done half a dozen or so searches, they're doing the same thing. So that is our process. And our process is all about, we don't advertise. We don't use a job description, really. We use what's called a position profile. I can send you some.
I want to check something. Are you now drifting into Inside Out and talking a little bit
Sorry.
about Inside Out? Yeah, I just want to make sure anybody watching this gets to hear there's a trademark methodology here, framework that's proven, and this is what David's talking about now, is this Inside Out approach. So yeah, keep going. I just want to make sure we tie that in for the viewer.
Yeah, sure. So part and parcel of doing, so I'm working on a new book right now called Revolutions Need Leaders: How the Fourth Industrial Revolution Has Changed the Leadership and Recruitment Game. And it's partially built on the Inside Out approach. But the Inside Out approach is an approach to executive search that starts with the client understanding what they're all about. And here's why. One of the few truisms in the last 40 years is all the good people are taken. All the great employees have jobs. You might be in between a job, but most of the great employees already have a job, and chances are they got a good job and they like it, and they don't talk to recruiters, they don't return phone calls, the whole 9 yards, unless it's something absolutely spectacular. So as an employer, you got to know what you're all about. So we send employers back, and they work with us, they work through this with us to do a complete SWOT analysis, to do a complete strategic plan, and show us how this role fits into that strategic plan. And then we write a job description, which is really a position profile, which is anywhere from 5 to 8 pages, and it's going to highlight who the hiring manager is, probably have video in it, the whole 9 yards. When we do a search, we go out to the research group, and I'll tell them, I need these 3 things. This week I need, can write French, bilingual, can write French, can sell to the government, and has a background in, that's it. So the research group goes out, brings me all these guys. And every single one of them has job. as a job, and I have to be able to phone them up and tell them what I'm all about. And then they always say, "Tell me about the opportunity," and I go, "No, I'm not that good on the phone. I don't have the verbal acuity that would do justice to this role, let alone, to your ears. So I'm going to send you this in an email." So I'll send them the position profile. And what happens is we will have so refined the role so that the reader goes, "Oh, that's me." And then they'll phone back and say, "Yeah, I want to talk about this." And they start asking questions. I say, again, stop. I'm going to send you, I said, "You're not going to have a resume. I'm not going to ask you to make a resume. I'm going to send you a Word document. It's called the confidential candidate brief. I'm going to send you a Word document and you're going to read the questions. Then you're going to from these questions, you're going to understand what we're looking for really deeply. These questions are going to connect and trigger things." Said, you complete this Word document, send it back to me. Then we'll have a conversation. What I've done in doing this is I've defined the hunting ground, and instead of hunting a candidate, we already know who the candidates are. The hunted are becoming the hunters. Now they're telling me why they fit this role, and that's how the whole process starts. And then we'll bring them in for an interview, usually myself and another recruiter, usually a couple of hours. And if we like that and we decide to go forward, we'll let them meet the search chair. And this is how we go through a gated process. But as you're going through a gated process as a candidate, you're learning more and more and more, so that at every meeting, you can say, "Yeah, I'm the guy or the gal," or "I'm not." You make that decision as you're going through. It's a slow reveal. And the last interview is you, if we were going to do this, it'd be you, James, giving us a presentation, however long, of your first 30, 60, 90 days. Because we want to understand what you understand the role to be, and get that nailed down. So we have a discussion as we're going through this. But more importantly, we want the client to understand, okay, this is what I have to do as a client to support this person in this role that is so critical to my company. So by the time you're finished and we sign on the dotted line and the contracts, and you show up, you don't spend the first 30 to 60 days getting your wings and figuring out what you're going to do. No, it's already on the shelf. 30, 60, 90 days. This is what we're doing. Boom. This is what I need. And, and when we do this with clients and candidates, when they show up their first day, they don't get a t-shirt and a mug. They get, "Here's your PC. Here are all the people you wanted to meet. Here's when you're going to meet them," the whole 9 yards. And that's why our searches last. I mean, I'm doing a series now called the Local Heroes, where I'm going to profile some of the candidates that we've placed over the last couple of years. One of the oldest has been at the company 35 years. It's a construction company. He's been there 35 years. And the oldest tech one now has been at the company as CEO for 14 years. He's done a bunch of acquisitions. So when you do it this way, and where Anita comes in, as she sits and does all these things, we don't agree on interpreting what happened on these calls. So it's good. The clients are often playing the referee, but then she turns around and does an emotional intelligence assessment. And then while I'm doing the references, she's done the EQI. I don't see the EQI until I've finished all the references, handed them in, and then she's just looking to make sure they're synergistic and they fit. This is why this stuff lasts. And anybody that's looking for a job right now should be looking to go into a process like that. Yeah, it takes a while to get through it if you're a job hunter, but you're not going to do it very often, are you? Because this is going to be the one.
Yeah,
and it's as important for you as it is the clients.
There's two adjectives that you use in a lot of your collateral, and as I read about you and I've learned about you outside of the call, one is extraordinary. That this process and the way that you and Anita are actually working is extraordinary on behalf of the clients that you're serving and the candidates that you're putting in process. And I think just walking us through that has kind of clarified for me that that's true. But the other thing is it allows both parties to experience greatness. Yeah. And when you're experiencing greatness and you're being yourself, doing what you want to do and how you do it best, you kind of experience more of the flow state experience daily. And that greatness comes because everything's in alignment. We're not looking for agreement. We're looking for an alignment. And when that alignment exists through the process, you just get that great outcome. So I thought that was really...
That's how you recruit. Yeah, that's how you recruit. I mean, recruitment is changing, and it's changing because the type of leader. I'm off on a different tangent, so you can pull me in.
That's good. Keep going. I got
The
probably
type
one or
of
two more
leader,
questions. Yeah.
the type of leader that we're looking for now is different from what we've looked for the last 50 years. The command and control guy, the smartest guy in the room. Companies need someone, we call them a 4.0 leader. Companies need someone that can get people to believe in themselves. So get their group to believe in themselves on an individual basis, to believe in each other and trust each other collectively. And then number three, to believe in the cause, the common cause. And when you can get someone to do that, that's when magic really happens. And, this book is all about doing that and how you find that leader, because they're typically not looking for a job. So you literally got to go find them. And looking on LinkedIn is not going to do it. Advertising is not going to do it. We're introducing some new concepts. But when you get that kind of leader, and you saw it with, oh, good Lord, I've forgotten his name, the recent CEO of ChatGPT, OpenAI.
Okay.
I can't remember his name right now, but when he got sacked, the next day, 700 people said, well, if he's gone, I'm gone. That should be terrifying to everybody in HR, because everybody has wanted to find people that can build that kind of loyalty. Be careful what you ask for, because you got a guy that just did it. And now all of a sudden you were quote unquote disloyal to him, and all of his people said, well, we're gone. So you need to make sure that you're hiring the right leader, because when people follow, they're going to follow.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap this up with some nuances then, perhaps, that maybe you can point to. We talked at the top of the show about you work in real estate and construction, kind of construction background. Real estate is where you knew those markets, and then technology. Are there any nuances that people need to be aware of about what's happening in each of the industries right now, or of what you've been talking about? Is it pervasive across those three industries? Let me know what your thoughts are about that.
I would actually say it is pervasive. The push for leaders that can inspire people is paramount, and we're not making any more of them, or at least we're not making them fast enough. And the whole concept of competing for the sake of faster, cheaper, is a downward spiral. What companies need to learn to do is to be better with fewer people.
Yeah.
Better people that will work together, where 1 and 1 is 7. And that's what's coming. Otherwise, we're going to compete for, cheapest, fastest, right into the ground over the next 10 years. And
Everything, yeah.
That's not what we want.
Yeah. So let's I want people to know a little bit more about you, because I know we talked a lot about the industry and the business. And tell us a little bit about your inspirations and your role models. Who are those people? Who are the people right now that I don't know if you dropped any of those names in the call. I'm just trying to think if you did. I don't remember any. But yeah, are there any role models or people who inspired you to do what you do today, and they help you stretch? Yeah.
Oh, you talk about getting it lucky. I have just tripped into so much luck. It's insane. For example, when I wrote my first book, it was called Career. I wrote my first book on a dare and to raise money for English schools in the province of Quebec. So that's how this all happened. And my friend dared me to write it, and he was taken off. And he's my co-author for the next book, Ron Weens. He was taken off to Europe for a couple of months. When he came back, I'd written the first book, and it was called Career Guide to the High-Tech Professional: Where the Jobs Are Now and How to Land Them. And I wrote it, raised a bunch of money for these schools. But I decided that I was going to make it a book and actually publish it. So I went out looking for a publisher. I chose Career Press because it made sense. And I wanted someone to write a foreword. Well, I had been reading J. Conrad Levinson's books on guerrilla marketing for decades. I mean, it was the first, my budget when I first got in my first year was $20. This book, I was down in Rochester, was $15. I bought the book. I had $5 left over. So I reached out to Jay and said, hey, Jay, I've just written my first book. I've read all your stuff. I really like it. Any chance you can read mine? I said, sure. So I sent it to him. And that's when modems were 14.4. Okay. Woo. Anyway, took a while to get it to him. 2 weeks later, he calls back and he says, I loved it. I gave it to my daughter, Amy, who was looking for a job, and she likes it. She's working with it. Anything else I can do? I said, can you write the foreword? He said, sure. He said, but I'm an author, so I got to charge you. I said, whatever, I'll sign the done. So he wrote the book. So what I did was he wrote the
The
foreword
forward, yeah.
for a career guide for the high tech professionals. So I picked up the phone. I phoned this guy named Seth Godin and said, "Hey Seth, my name is, and I just wrote this book, and Jay's done the forward. Can I get a back cover quote?" "Oh yeah, sure." Sent him the book, boom, cover. Did the same thing to Guy Kawasaki. Did the same thing to a couple of guys, and Stephen Covey. I called Stephen Covey, and he told me to F off right on the phone. And I was
Wow.
so taken back. I said, "Pardon me?" He repeated it. I said, "Sir, I am just like I read the book, bought the merchandise, drank the Kool-Aid. It may be a crappy book, but I would expect you would at least read it and then dump on me." "Fine, send it." So I sent the thing in and never expect to hear anything back. And 2 days before I had to ship the manuscript to New York, his secretary called and she said, "I can't believe this, but he actually read your book. He liked it, and he's giving you a cover quote." So actually, it's right. Hold on. Yeah, I got it here. Those are all the books I've done. There we go.
Awesome.
And the one I forgot was I can't remember. Done in the book. Anyway, so yeah, so I've been fortunate to work with Jake Conrad Levinson. He introduced me to Seth Godin. I met Guy Kawasaki. Guy and I were both on Indeed. If you remember Indeed, when
Yeah.
Indeed launched, we were on Indeed's launch committee. Simply Hired, we were on their committee, picking the winner of a contest called Simply Fired. And this goes back. I'm dating myself, but yeah, I mean, I've had conversations with, a lot of my idols, including Zig Ziglar. I was one of the last people, unfortunately, to get a letter from Zig. I had invited him to go on tour with me for something, and he wrote me back a letter and said, "Can't. I'm too ill," and he passed away about 6 months ago, or 6 months after that. But if you
Yeah.
don't, if you don't
His son is a
ask,
neighbor of, yeah, his son is a neighbor of mine, not too far
oh,
away.
is he?
Yeah, because I'm in Dallas, so he's just a little bit west of me.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I still have my original Zig Ziglar books. They're that old.
You know,
I'll never get rid of
I
them.
think this is amazing. I haven't been there, but my coach has. I have a coach who lives up in Toronto, actually. He came down to see him, and they have a vault of all of Zig Ziglar's work, and it's it's a fireproofed
And
shelter.
it's
And
just
when
brilliant
my coach
stuff.
visited, he got the tour and got to see every single thing he'd ever created. I just thought, wow, it's an incredible experience. And now, now his son is living his legacy and sharing the good word. Yeah.
That's interesting. So I've just been lucky that way,
Yeah, but they were great names, and I think a lot of
all
people
over the world.
recognize those names and be familiar with them. But also, it tells people more about you and what's the common themes here. You can go and look up those folks. I want people to look you up, so let's finish on this. Where's the best way to contact you? How would you like them to do that? And perhaps you've got a website or maybe an email address that they can actually reach out to you. Yeah, but you
So
probably don't want their emails, but yeah,
well,
maybe a website.
if people want to have some fun, go to Google and in parentheses put Rogue Recruiter, and that will pull up the Wall Street Journal article, probably either on Wall Street Journal or on the Perry-Martel website. But you'll have a good laugh at my expense, and you'll understand what's possible. And the Wall Street Journal article is interesting because after I had my stroke in 2008, couldn't read, as I said, couldn't walk, talk, read, or write. A couple of guys in Ottawa who were my competitors took great joy in running around to all my clients and telling them I was brain dead. Technically, they were right. I was for a while. But I had done an interview with the Wall Street Journal 8 or 9 months earlier, and Sarah had brought it to her editor, and the editor said, "Yeah, this is not going to fly. This is bullshit. This guy's not this good. Hasn't done this stuff." So she was pretty much instructed to go and find some dirt on me so that they could publish another article about recruiters taking advantage of people and stuff like that. So I'd given her 8 or 9 people to call. She called over 90. Unbeknownst to me, I never heard back. And then the following October, anyway, about 6 months after I'd had the stroke and starting to talk, this article appeared in the Wall Street Journal, and our business just went vertical. Right through the ceiling, right through the ceiling. So, I always tell, and I use the example a lot. I've had open heart surgery. I've had many heart surgeries, but I have open heart. I have a pacemaker. I've had a stroke that I've obviously recovered from. And I tell people just you just got to roll with it, man. I mean, it sounds really silly and it almost sounds trite, but you got to roll with it. If you got Rift, if your company got acquired and you were shown the door, understand you had a job before and you did a great job, so you're going to have a job again where you're going to do a great job. This time, though, maybe you take some time to figure out, what do I really want to do? And we do this thing live when we're on stage called the Monster Hack. Remember Monster Board? So
Yeah.
you take the three skills that you want to use and that you know people will pay for. Okay, formatting a floppy drive is not one of them anymore. Engineers, I love them, and go to Monster, throw these three skills in, hit the wheel, and let it spin. And what will happen is you'll get a long list of every industry and every job in every industry that use those three skills. You will be astounded by what you're qualified to do. Now, you as a candidate, as a job hunter, just have to marry up the experience that shows somebody else that if you're going into a new industry, that, yeah, I did this over here, I can do the same thing. I'm a kindergarten teacher. I'm a scuba diver. I'm a scuba dive instructor. It's the same thing. You're teaching children, literally. So, there's another hack for people. And understand when people don't get back to you right away, they may be embarrassed because they don't know what to do for you. So tell them. When we do this coffee cup caper, when people Google this, they'll find out that we say, find the 10 companies. And when you send, we do something called the email chain letter. Okay. And the email chain letter has been responsible for more new interviews than anything we've ever done. You essentially take your 10 and you put them in a letter. And I say, Dear James, I've just left XYZ company. And I have an interest in these 10 companies at the bottom that I put in the paragraph just below here. And if you know anybody that used to work there or works there now, could you let me know? And if you wouldn't mind, nothing will happen if you break the chain, but if you wouldn't mind, could you forward this email on to 10 of your friends and ask them to do the same thing?
Yeah.
Now, I've done this in real time. My daughter did it, which is how she ended up in Bulgaria, Ukraine. Anyway, that has been responsible for more first-time interviews than anything else, the email chain letter and the guerrilla marketing, the coffee cup thing. And people make fun of me when I suggest this on stage. I actually had a woman, and then I'll be quiet. I had this woman come to an event. 4 times she comes to an event that I do for free every year, or I used to, at this career thing in Ottawa. And the first three times she essentially said, "Oh, that's not gonna work," and left. The 4th time she comes, I recognize her now, right? And she says, she put up her hand, very Canadian, in the front seat. "Can I see something?" And I said, "Yep, go. Only what I'm going to do, right? I know it's coming." So she stands up, faces the audience. She said, "The first 3 times I heard this man speak, I just thought he was so full of hooey. This is just absolute crap." I was unemployed then, and I'm not unemployed now because I did this one thing I did, and it really worked well. So she turned around and thanked me. I almost lost it. It was just so we admire people that go above and beyond. We see it on TV all the time.
What you just said, that was a really interesting point, because I think coaching is a team sport. I think recruitment is a team sport. So everyone's got to play the game. And when she played the game, she made the plays. You're coaching the plays. Yep. You're saying, okay, you can go left, right, you can go straight, you can go over the top, you can go backwards. Then she makes a play and she wins. And I think the crucial point about that is the player has to make the plays. And as hooey as the philosophy or the action plan may sound, if you haven't tried it or you didn't do it and you haven't perfected your own processes, you cannot complain about the outcomes. And I share that because one of the things that I think is really powerful about the email chain letter is just asking for a referral that is it's kind of like soft referral. It's just kind of like, who else do you think I should speak to?
Yep.
That's all you're asking. And most people, I think, in human nature want to help you out. They're like, I'm gonna help this person, and they'll do it for free. They're not asking you for money. They'll just send the email, or if you say, hey, there are 2 or 3 other people I could talk to, they'll give you the names. Oh, would you mind introducing me to them? Oh yeah, you want me to do a warm intro? Yeah, I can do that. And now with tools, with ChatGPT, we talked about that earlier. That thing can be, you can speak that into ChatGPT and it can spit the email out and connect it to Google and send it in 10 seconds.
My daughter did that.
So powerful. Yeah,
sorry, my daughter did that. I had just finished speaking in Detroit at the International World Congress for Automotive and Aeronautical Engineers, and I'm at the airport, and my vibrator, my BlackBerry goes off. Sorry, and it's my daughter, and she said, "Hey, need help. Gotta find a job." I said, "I'll talk to you when I get back." She said, No, this is a Wednesday. I got to do this by Friday. ADHD. What can I tell you? So I told her to do an email chain letter and a targeted Facebook advertising campaign. That's a different thing.
Yep.
And she says, sure. I go from Detroit to Philadelphia. I land in Philadelphia. I got to send her my credit card, and then I got to send her my PIN number. I land in Ottawa. So this is 5 hours later, and she said it worked. I said, what worked? She said, I got an interview. I said, I got 3. I said, bullshit. She said, no, seriously. She'd been trying to get into Canada World Youth for 5 years. And that she did the email chain letter. A girlfriend of hers knew somebody who she sent it to the girlfriend. Her girlfriend's father was on the board, and Krista had an interview Saturday morning with this guy who was on the board. And she flew out to the Ukraine the following Monday, and she's never moved back home.
Well, there's good and bad for that. All right. Well, look, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for all the goodness you shared with us today, because I do think a lot of people need it. And I think a lot of people need the upgrade, the hiring perspectives. And I think you did that for us, which is extremely valuable. So I am going to put a link in there to your website so people can come and visit you there. So if you are a recruiter, you're a company who are seeking executive recruitment and you want to partner with somebody who is world-class and has been doing this an awful long time, David is your point of contact. So please do reach out to them. If you are an individual and you are a C-suite executive in any of those 3 marketplaces, technology, real estate, and construction, then David also may be your contact, bearing in mind all the things he said in the last hour need to be help you qualify.
James, thank you for your patience. I'm now curious as to when your book is going to come out.
Oh, that's good. A good question. People ask me that all the time, and I am a laggard on writing my book. So I've always wanted to write the book. That's a dream.
Now that you've said that, hold on. Where did I put it? Oh man.
This is great live.
So
best YouTube videos are when the
I did a YouTube interview with a young lady that I liked a couple years ago, and I asked her the same thing, and she said, "Yeah, I'm thinking about it." I got it yesterday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Jade Mason, leverage your strengths for career success.
Congratulations.
Okay? 1 year from when I dared her. So if you want to write a book, call me. I'll show you how to do it so easy. It's the same thing I said to her. You get 3 by 5 inch index cards. Every time you have an idea, you write it down, throw it in a box, and then eventually you're out of ideas. You call me. I show you how to put it together.
I am going to call you.
That should be you next year.
I am going to call you. Yeah. I'm down the path with, there's 12 to 20,000 words already written, and I just kind of keep going back to it and coming away and going back to it. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take you up on that offer. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
I don't mind the pressure and the challenge. I think it's great. So thank you. We're going to say goodbye to the folks on the call. Goodbye, everybody, and we'll see you real soon. Thank you for watching today. Thank you for your time, David. I really appreciated the conversation with you. If you're still on the channel, I want you to watch this next video. If you're somebody who is looking for your next challenge, your next transition in your career, this is the video. I will see you inside. Just go click on there right now.